Hi folks, welcome to the Prepared Homestead. This is Travis. Thank you all for stopping by to watch. Starting off with a beautiful morning, but it is supposed to heat up and there's some chances of storms this afternoon, pop-up showers because of the heat and the humidity. Yes, we're in that time of the year. Those of you that are from the south, you know what that means. News is reporting, talking about these ISIS terrorists that they arrested up in New York that come across the border illegally. There's concern now, all of a sudden, that if these came across the border, then how many more have come across the border? And what are they planning to do? Well, you know, folks like you and I have been talking about this for a while, warning about this, and why we have, you know, the problems of having an open border. They're claiming that we could see another 9/11 soon. Even the news is reporting that. And my question is are they going to drag George W. Bush out of mothballs for him to coordinate this 9/11 attack, or are they going to have someone else in charge of it? But seriously, this is what we've all been talking about. This kind of stuff could be happening very easily when you have a border that's so porous that anyone could come across. The news is also starting to report, at least mainstream news now, is starting to report the story that I talked to you a couple of days ago about how Saudi Arabia is not renewing the agreement on the petrodollar. For those of you that aren't aware of this or haven't really been following this at all, the petrodollar, well, as you all know, is what pretty much everyone for many, many years now has always said that's what gives the United States currency its value, really. I mean, it's not really just the production of America, because we don't produce anything. You could say it's because of the power of our military, especially our Navy, but there's less and less, I think, less and less respect for that. I'm not saying it's not powerful, it's just we're not seeing the world kind of shake and tremble when the U.S. Navy and the U.S. military does its saber rattling. So I don't know that that has a lot anymore, at least as much as it once did. But we've always been able to fall back to, well, it's the petrodollar. It's the currency that oil is traded on. And, well, now that's ended. And the mainstream news is reporting that there is a major global paradigm shift, because Saudi Arabia is no longer exclusively using the U.S. dollar. They are now open to using any other types of currencies, the yuan and the ruble and all sorts of Bitcoin. That's what everyone is saying, that they're going to switch over to cryptocurrency, and it'll be the Petro Bitcoin. What does that mean for the U.S. dollar? That this should be, out of everything that's going on, this should be one of the most major news stories right now. In fact, I think it'll end up being one of the most major news stories of our time, of this time period that we're living in, because the once great giant of the U.S. dollar that ruled the planet, I mean, really, truly ruled the planet. You could go anywhere. It was recognized and accepted everywhere. And the value of just about everything on the planet was in relation to the U.S. dollar. I mean, look at gold. You know, we say, oh, well, silver is worth $30 an ounce and gold is worth $2,300 an ounce. That's all based on the U.S. dollar. It's not its actual value. It's just the value in relation to the U.S. dollar. And that's significant. You know, we don't say that, you know, the silver is, you know, $40 a yen for an ounce, 40 yen an ounce. It's based in dollars, and that's been how, well, everything's been for a long time now, at least 50 years. And this is significant that all of a sudden that's no more. And there's been very little talk about it beforehand, during it, after. The news, like I said, mainstream news is starting to pick up on this and talk about it, but still not in a major way. And maybe folks like myself are overreacting to this, but it's only because our whole lives have been talking about how The US dollar, well, it's not gold backed anymore. It's not backed by this or that. It's backed by oil because it's the petrodollar, and that all oil must be traded in US currency. And now that that's no longer the case, does that mean our currency is no longer valid and no longer valuable? I mean, most of us have been saying that for a while now, that the only thing that really gives the US currency its value is just the faith that people have in it, that it's still valuable. And when that faith starts to wane, well, then what happens? And I think we're starting to see that. We're watching China and Japan, the two largest holders of U.S. debt. They're dumping dollars. We're watching the BRICS and over 50 nations now that have said, you know what, we're not really interested in using U.S. currency anymore. We're watching country after country that on the surface has no reason to use U.S. currency, or to not use U.S. currency. That's a tongue twister. And they're walking away from it. All the while Americans and our government, at least seemingly on the surface, is quiet about it. That they're not paying attention to it. I would guess that the average American now has no clue what it's even about or understands it. I mean, when you've got a good portion of Americans that think men can have babies and periods, they probably just can't wrap their heads around about monetary systems. And that's going to hurt us. It's going to change a lot of things. I think that alone, if you don't include any of this other stuff going on, that alone could cause a global war easily. Just the fact that the currency is shifting. Is anyone going to, do anything? Of course not. No one's doing anything about it. Why? Because it's all pre-planned. I believe that that's also the case. I believe we're watching a plan be put in place. Myself and many others, you listen to a lot of them, I'm sure, have been warning about this for years. Not just about the dollar, but about the wars and about the progression of this globalist takeover. And now we're starting to see it. And my concern is that folks like you and I, we've been talking about it for years, and now it's actually happening. And it's possible that we're maybe numb to it. Maybe we're in shock and we're not reacting appropriately. And then I ask myself, well, how should we be reacting to it? I mean, I think the simplest answer is we need to step it up, folks. We need to step it up. We've got Russian ships with nuclear warheads right off the coast of Florida. We've got China, threatening us that if we have any relationship whatsoever with Taiwan, they will retaliate in some way against us. We've got people flooding across the border illegally. We've got an economy in shambles, even though that the Fed and the Treasury is trying to convince Americans that it's the best it's ever been. We've got a leadership in Washington that can't put two sentences together. And we've got a nation that is completely devoid of biblical morality as they turn their back on the Almighty Creator. This is the time that we've all been warned about. This is the time that we've been preparing for, and it's now upon us. Yes, day-to-day life still seems to be fairly normal. It seems there is this appearance, but it's because we're in that transition period, folks. We're in that transition period, and so we're still kind of existing and living off of the benefits and the progression, and I'm speaking of it in a good way, of how America has always been. Our economy, daily life, just it's functioning as normal, and we're still living off of that. But at its foundation, the things that make us what we've been and what we are is being completely destroyed. And at some point, it's going to catch up with it. And we're going to feel that. We're going to feel that rapid, radical change. And it's going to be devastating to a lot of people. Economically, it's going to be devastating. Violent and crime-wise, it's going to be devastating. The debasing of morality and this very wicked progressiveness, it's going to catch up with us. The wars and the foreign relations that we have developed in such a negative way, having a leadership that is so incompetent, all of this is going to catch up with us, and it is right now. But it's going to get worse, and we have to be prepared for that. We have to be aware of what's going on, aware and consciously, actively planning and preparing for the fact that our dollar is going to just, at this point, it's got nowhere else to go but down. Between the debt, inflation, the de-dollarization, the collapse of the petrodollar, all of these things, it tells us that there's only one direction for our currency to go, and that's down. And it could actually happen quite rapidly. And we have to be prepared for that. We have to be prepared for the long-term repercussions of that. Be prepared for the wars that could easily happen, that probably are going to happen because of that and many other things that are all building. We have to wake up and realize that our world, our existence in this world, it's all changed. It's all changed quite a bit over the last few years. It's not the same America we once grew up in. And we need to prepare for that. And wake up, get ready, and take it serious. This is not a time to just be asleep at the wheel, folks. It's time to wake up and get yourselves prepared by getting your houses in order and preparing them mentally, physically, and spiritually. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.